And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide podcast. This is Sleep Dawg with the big hawk.
What's up, everybody? Exciting weekend, a lot going on, a lot happening. Glad to be in the studio, Sleep Dawg, virtually. Got a great pod for you guys. I'm pretty pumped.
Damn, great day to be a Tar Heel, I'm telling you. We're coming off, I don't know, Big Hawk might be the biggest win in the history of Carolina football. I'm sure there were some big ones in the past, but UNC Miami, we're going to recap that. Heels number 10 in the AP now. We're going to talk about that, where they stand, and we're still disrespected a little bit, I feel like. Tez's game, got Drake's game. We'll cover that. Travis Scott, oh my God, was on campus. Oh God, that was the most boomer Travis Scott of all time. Probably most people listening to this podcast don't know who the hell Travis Scott is, but all these kids do. And he was here, and he canceled his concert, which I thought was fun. We'll get in that. NFL recap, old Sam. Got another win, man. Looked pretty good. Jets beat the Eagles, first time in history. Browns beat the 49ers. Live action, Tracy. That shit happened on Friday night. I didn't go, but we'll talk a little bit about what's ahead for the basketball team. And Jonathan Kuminga plays tonight. Probably going to start because Steph and Clay not playing tonight. So for all you one people out there that give a shit about NBA preseason, I got you covered. But we got to start, obviously, Big Hawk. UNC Miami, dude. That place might not have had any empty seats when the game started, and it was the most fun I think I've ever had at a Carolina football. At least the most fun I've ever had that I remember at a Carolina football game. Big win for the Heels. What was your takeaway?
One, I wanted to see how the game went. I was a little nervous. I was talking to my little brother before the game. He hit me up. He's like, "Hey, what do you think UNC is going to pull it off?" And I said, "Man, Miami's a really good team. They're coming off a loss. Usually teams try to refocus, and I thought they would come in really hungry, which they did. But my takeaway from the game was Tez Walker had a hell of a game, 3 touchdowns, and Sleep. This is what I'm going to talk about. I said this last week. Is I felt like Tez was going to come out with a lot of pressure, put a lot of pressure on himself after everything he's been through, that first game back, getting eligible, all the emotions that come with it. We're on here talking about we want to throw a Hail Mary the first play. First snap, Hail Mary to Tez, let him get a touchdown. All right, now that's kind of settled, and he's not coming off all those emotions. He got some game reps, so he's going to be a little more comfortable, and he looked unbelievable. He reminded me of a guy named Isaac Bruce, who was a hell of a player for the Rams back in the day. Fastest show on turf. Had Kurt Warner throwing it to him. Drake's going to be better than Kurt Warner. Drake's more of a Tom Brady-esque type player.
Yeah.
He had a big-time game. 4 touchdowns. I love some Drake Maye. Listen, there's not a better player in college football. We saw the kid from Caleb Williams fall apart for USC over the weekend. Guy was throwing wounded ducks all over the field. Drake is in the first. He's in leaderboard for the Heisman. Don't get me wrong. He should be there. I got him sitting in the first spot. But ultimately, Sleep Dawg, we're still going to get disrespected, and I like it. Because we play best when we're disrespected, and we don't need the notoriety. We don't need anybody else believing in us. No one else, to be honest with you, going off history, no one's ever believed in UNC football. This is a time, and Mac Brown's done an unbelievable job selling the program, getting big time recruits, doing a 180. The team is undefeated. It's never been in a better position, and we just got to take care of business. Sleep. Just keep our heads down, keep grinding, and get the dubs.
I'm telling you, man, like it's one of the more like nobody's talking about it. Anybody. I mean, Oregon lost to Washington. They don't, I get it. Texas and Oregon have losses to highly ranked teams. Fine, right? You can say that all you want. But we've beaten everybody that has been put in front of us convincingly. Right. And that game last night, or the game Saturday night, was not a 10-point game. Didn't feel like that. They got a touchdown late. You know, true story. I kind of felt I was a little happy about it, but I did a pregame prediction, 41-17 Heels. Everybody in this section was like, bro, what are you talking about? And it was a second before they got that late touchdown. It was going to be 41-17. It was looking like 41-17 might happen. But internet in there wouldn't let it post. And then, of course, they scored that touchdown. I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of glad. And then they scored again, right? So, they had a couple of late touchdowns. And I honestly think that I thought we would get more credit in the AP poll because of Tez, right? I mean, you could see it right there on the field. This team is totally different with him. I mean, we had Paysor went down. I think he's done for the year. We had our punter go down. This is prior to the game. This comes out. Paysor's, I don't know where he ranks in terms of our receivers, but he's a good one. And, we didn't miss a beat, man. And Tez was active on, dude, guy was dynamic. And I guess now everybody can see why we were so pissed that they wouldn't let the kid play. I mean, and it became last night, it became very evident just what was taken from him. Everything's theoretical until you see him on the field. I mean, he was unbelievable. Yeah. He was all over the place. He's fast as shit. Clearly has a rapport with Drake. Carolina is the only undefeated team in the top 10 with teams with a loss ahead of it, right? So there's 8 undefeated teams in the top 10, and we're number 8, right? And look, man, there's some really good teams out there. Just because we've only beaten one ranked opponent in Miami, Miami is a stupid play away from being a top 15 team when that game took place. South Carolina played Georgia close. So there's a lot of teams that are now Miami. I mean, Syracuse just got the doors blown off by Florida State, right? But Pitt won. Pitt beat Louisville last night, right? Or again on Saturday night. So there's a lot of if all you want to do is look at the top 25 and say, oh well, they've only beaten one ranked, but fine, right? But if you want to look deeper than that, which I think is the job of the voter and understanding what's going on, right? Like you have to look at our team and see what we've done against the people that have been put in front of us, and we've handled business and done it in a fashion that is very sort of traditionally un-UNC like. We're just winning games kind of convincingly. Now it got a little dicey toward the end of that one, and guy in the row behind me, I mean, this guy was calling a game over at like third quarter, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, have you ever watched Tar Heels play football? Like, this shit ain't over until 10 minutes after the game's over. That's when I'll believe it's over. But anyway, I mean, do what we're supposed to do. And like you said, who really cares? Like, we've got to beat Virginia this week. Then we, what do we go on the road to Georgia Tech? Then we have Campbell, a little bit of a breather. God bless us all. Then you've got.
Just hit us with the ultimate jinx right there.
Oh, come on, Campbell, dude.
Hey, dude, listen, man. Anything is, that's why they play him. Listen, it's a trap game. Listen, and also, we lost to Georgia Tech. Are we at home against Georgia Tech? Or we're on the road
against Tech. We're on the road against Tech.
I thought we took an L there last year at the end of the season.
Dude, yeah, Tech is the trap game. Virginia and Georgia Tech, those are the trap games.
Yeah.
Then we wind up with back. So here's how it goes. We got Virginia at home this coming weekend. Then we got Georgia Tech on the road. Then we got Campbell at home. Then we're Duke at home. Then we're Clemson, North Carolina State on the road. That's how we end the season up. Got to be the favorite in all those games now. I mean, even at Clemson, it's going to be a tight spread. But right now, hell yeah, I'm saying we're the favorite in all those games. And that's what's going to get different about this, right? Like, disrespected, under the radar, we've been playing without our best. And that's the other thing, we've been playing without our best player, besides Drake Maye on offense, obviously, all season. So, we got to see, it's quintessential UNC. Like, I ain't comfortable, but how could you not be happy with where things are right now?
No, if you told us, hey, we'd be undefeated at this point of the year, I would take it, obviously.
For the record, that's what I told everybody.
Listen, Sleep Dawg, what game worries you the most in the upcoming? To me, I would say Duke. Duke is a concern, and the reason Duke is that's a rivalry game, and emotions are going to be hard, or there's going to be high emotionals. It's going to be a high emotional game. You always play well against your rival. I don't care what the ranking says. Duke's not that bad either. And then at Clemson, I think it's going to be the toughest environment we've played at all year, no question, Death Valley. And they have a winning program, so they know how to win. But I know they're definitely not what they, going off of what they've been in the years prior. I wouldn't say they're, a powerhouse like that, but they are Clemson at Clemson. It's not going to be a cakewalk. But, historically, we got to take care of Virginia, and then we got to go and bust Georgia Tech's ass because they beat us last year, and that was a devastating loss, and we need to go ahead and get revenge off that one. But, no, I'm extremely happy with this team, especially with Drake. I think Drake's done an unbelievable job, even though he's taken a little bit of criticism early on for not putting up high numbers or enormous stats. He's just kept on winning, and his stats keep getting better and better. And I really do. I like his composure. I feel like we're watching him grow and get smarter. We know he's athletic. We know he has the size. He has the arm strength. And we're starting to see him become a high IQ guy. So it's really fun to watch, and especially for such a good person. I feel like Drake May's I know the whole Maye family, and the kid works hard. He's a really good kid too. So I really like that aspect as well.
God, just like awesome, like representation of UNC in general. You asked me which game I'm most afraid of. That's an easy question. The next one. And it's going to be the next one and the next one and other than Campbell. Look, dude, I'm not jinxing anything, and I'm well aware of I'm about as superstitious as they come, right? But like Campbell, the only thing I'm worried about Campbell is that's one of those games you can't even let it get close. Okay, why are we even talking about Campbell? Here's the thing: Virginia has sort of always been a bugaboo for us. Like we've lost Virginia a lot of times when we should have been favored, or we were favored, or should have just beat the doors off of them. For whatever reason, Virginia has always given us a lot of problems. Kind of the same thing with Georgia Tech. So this is the period right now that's probably, like, if you ask me to back out, like those kind of freak me out the most, because those should be sort of lopsided games. You talk about when we get to Duke, rivalry game, that's going to be close. Their quarterback's good. Their defense is good. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think we have the best quarterback in college football. Caleb Williams, if you want to pick him over Drake Maye, okay, fine. I hadn't watched enough of him, whatever, right? But it's 1 and 1A to me, right? And so in college football, quarterback matters more than anything. We got a guy, right? So you're going to play a good defense, fine. We got the best player on the field, right? When you go to Clemson, that game just sort of those games, Duke, Clemson, NC State, you got the two rivalry games, you got Clemson at Clemson, like you sort of just manifest itself, because those are games that are easy to get up for. Like you're not going to look past those. Right, you're not going to fall asleep at the wheel there. That I tell you what, if we go all the way to NC State on the road, last game of the season after Thanksgiving, remember, or like, isn't that game always on like the Friday after Thanksgiving, right? So if we go there and we're undefeated, I mean, I'm gonna need some people checking in on me all the way on the lead up to that one, because that one's gonna stress me out, right? But for now, it's like just win the one in front of you. Virginia is for whatever reason, is just always giving us problems. So, like, guys, any of you guys happen to listen to this podcast, dude, just stay focused. For the love of all things holy, please just pay attention to coaches. Don't be out at La Res. They're just slugging back, kamikaze shots and shit. Go to sleep. Get your good night's sleep. Get your little something to eat in the morning, and study the film. Because you can't fall asleep now, and this is a 6-0 start. I mean, I think I read where 5-0 was the first time in like 25 years we've gone 5-0. Now we're 6-0. We're top 10. I think we had cracked the top 10 during the bubble or whatever, COVID, when it was like 40 teams playing, and we were sort of like, we got up to like number 5. I think my buddy Lauren was telling me that we got up to. He's like, this guy's like Doogie Howser of Carolina football. And I was like, we were number 5. And he was like, yeah, but like 40 teams were playing. I forgot all about it. But, it's just a fun time for the program. I mean, dude, it was electric. The atmosphere at that game, man. The seats were full in the beginning. I did see some people throwing shade at the blue zone. I mean, guys, you guys over in the blue zone, go inside, get your dry ass cookies, and get back out there and sit in your damn seat. It's the nicest night in the history, like all year, and the biggest game in history. Y'all are in there boozing in the AC. Like, come on, guys. You look down there and all you see are empty seats. Get out. I mean, I want to go sit there too, but I'd at least sit in the seats. But the atmosphere was incredible right from the jump. It was close in the first half, right? This is the thing. I even forgot to write this in my notes. Carolina had more penalty yards in the first half than they had in any game prior all season, by far. And I mean, I'm at the game, right? So it's kind of hard to judge when these calls are warranted or not. Usually you got to go by, if the home team shows it on the Jumbotron, it's questionable. Not always that it's the wrong call, but if they start showing on the Jumbotron, you got to gripe. And if
there's a few angles that they can make it look like, all right, hey, let's not play this angle, but let's play that angle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. But I saw one in the second half.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the receiver won, whether it was McCollum or maybe Jones. But he broke free and they grabbed him by the horse collar. And I mean, dude, it was right. My seats are right about the 25-yard line, about, I don't know, 20 rows up. And the play happened right in front of me and right in front of the referee. I mean, we must have got called. I can't remember what the number of penalties was, but it was like 16 or something. Mm-hmm. I have to look it up while you get going on when I shut up. But dude, I mean, they were throwing they threw a rough in the passer, and it was just like, bro, this is not, that game. Okay, we let one guy get over the top at the end of the game for a touchdown. You shore that up, and probably some bad discipline on our side and this otherwise flat out bad calls. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, we might win that game 50-13. I mean, that game was not even as close. Well, first half notwithstanding, we came out in the second half. Credit to the coaching staff, made adjustments and just blew the doors off those guys. I'm going to see how many penalties we had.
Well, I'll say this, Sleep, and I know this is true in basketball. To start a game, refs are going to call the game pretty closely, just kind of set the tone. Because if they let players get away with some holding or if they don't call it tight, the last thing you want to have to do is clean up the game at the end of the game. You want the players to be a little more physical and let them decide the game. You don't want to throw a bunch of penalties at the end of the game, but also in these high emotional games as a player, I can tell you come out there, you're a little amped up and you get a little anxious and, it can lead to some penalties. But when I was watching the game, there were a lot of penalties. I remember that. And also I remember one play, it looked like the Miami wide receiver made a heck of a catch. I think we actually got to the quarterback. He kind of threw it up. The wide receiver made a hell of a catch. They took it into the end zone. But that was the only really spectacular play I remember from Miami really making on us. And I actually thought Miami played pretty well. I just felt like we dominated all aspects of the football game from what lack of knowledge I know about football. And I thought we played well. And also we have a defense this year. Our defense, for all the heat it took last year, they've done a really good job of turning that around. So you got to give credit to the defensive coordinator, whoever the hell he is, has done a pretty good job this year. And Mac's done a hell of a job too. He's got to be coach of the year, if not, in the discussion.
There's absolutely no question. If Mac Jones isn't coach of the year, I mean, unless we go 6-6, I don't understand how else you could give it to anybody else right now. Gene Chizik is our D coordinator. We forced some turnovers, but we had 14 penalties for 147 yards. To put that in perspective, Miami did have a good game, pretty good game offensively. Quarterback sort of ran up some numbers late in the game. Threw a couple bad picks. I can't remember if he had a fumble. I know they running back had a fumble kind of at the goal line in the first half. That was a key play. But to put that in perspective, 147 yards. Their leading rusher had 73 yards. Their leading receiver had 125. So, like, our either lack of discipline or bullshit from the officials gave them more yards than their best offensive players did in the game. Our guys were just unreal. I mean, Drake Maye didn't have a high completion percentage. I mean, they made him earn it, man. They had a strong D line and were really, really putting him under a lot of pressure. He seemed to settle down in that third quarter, especially, and really started, kind of picking them apart. He was 17 of 33, but he had 4 touchdowns. Hampton was sick again, 24 carries, almost 200 yards and a touchdown. He had I think he had a catch too for a touchdown. And, so he was over 200 yards from the line of scrimmage. And then Tez was 6 catches, 132, 3 touchdowns. And somehow was even better than that. We had 235 yards on the ground, 508 total offensive yards. We gave up 482 yards. But again, I want to say a good portion of that was relatively late in the game, kind of cleanup time, where you're playing soft coverage, just trying to make sure these guys don't get over the top, which somehow on one of those plays they did. But all things considered, I think kind of bend don't break, dude. It's about as good as you can hope to be for Carolina football at this stage of the game. I mean, you're 6-0, dude. I mean, we talked about it from day one. It's like there is a path here, and if you go win the games that you're supposed to win, and then play up for the games that are going to be tight, like this one was, everybody knew we were a 3-point favorite. And what was really getting dicey was if they had gone down, and I think the line was wobbling over like 3 and 3.5. So it was really getting dicey. I was like, imagine if Miami goes down there and scores a touchdown, and all those people had it 3.5, and they win by 3. I mean, that'd be some shit that would only happen to me, but that's why I don't bet very much. Anyway, great game, great night. On the heels of live action, I kind of love that reference, because that was just such a great halftime. Interviews usually suck, but Hubert gave us a gift with that halftime interview during that damn Final Four game. It says live action, Tracy, and they just ran with it. And so now that's what they're calling late night, and I think that's great. That was Friday night, just before the game. And I guess Travis Scott was in town Friday night.
I'm not really sure when Travis Scott showed up, but he either showed up Friday night or Saturday night. And
the buzz is he canceled his concert on Saturday night.
So why did he cancel his concert?
So I don't know. And I don't know if he actually canceled it or was just postponed. But they had the State Fair open at PNC. So it was playing at PNC, which is Raleigh Arena. They had the State Fair open, and State played at home against Duke on Saturday night. So at a Travis Scott concert, dude, come on, man.
Yeah, it probably didn't have the security or.
Yeah, I mean, and you'd still be sitting in traffic. Yeah. So, he probably was just like, damn, it looks lame as hell. I'm going to stay here in Chapel Hill where it's about to get live. And, I know there ain't no way he was at that Miami game. Otherwise, somebody would have found him with a camera and put him on the screen. So he wasn't there. But kind of cool. And the picture on social media looked like he has some pretty fresh Cactus Jack, Carolina colorways. So I'm sure that the sneakers app will drop those very soon for nobody to get. But live action, man, I didn't see it. I didn't get a chance to go. But I know you've had a chance to see the team a little bit. So what are your thoughts? This stage of the game, obviously a lot of questions after last year's season. Yeah. And heading into this one, I think there's, Carolina basketball fans always going to be optimistic.
Let me start with the Travis Scott. So Travis Scott, I have sources. Guys, there's nobody that's been in the Dean Dome other than the coaching staff than me. And I know that thing, and I'm there quite often. He stayed in the Dean Dome for about an hour and just kind of shot hoops, worked on his J, which I thought was really cool. Talked to the kids, which is a really good experience. And, the kids sleep. I'm not sure how much Travis Scott, me and you are listening to nowadays. Not a lot. And
I'll listen. I don't really know the words.
he does have some good beats, but I will say this: that was really cool for him to come through, and I know the kids, the team really enjoyed it. Also, it looks pretty cool for recruiting. Those Jays did look sick. Carolina blue, there's no better color. But I'll just go ahead and start with the team this year and what I think so far. I know we had live action. Everybody got a little sneak peek. Preview before the season. First game, November 6th against Radford, right around the corner, kind of sneaking up on us. I'll have a more in-depth player breakdown like I usually do, the preseason player breakdowns and what I expect from the team this year. But I really like the energy that the team has right now. And the reason I'm saying that is because last year, middle of the year, we could all kind of feel it. There was tension. It was heavy. The guys didn't look like they enjoyed playing basketball much. It's totally flipped. And I could tell the team, the chemistry is much better. I really, really like Cormac Ryan. And I've been down to Smith Center a lot. The kid is always in there when I'm there. He's a gym rat. And we need players like that, players that want to be in the gym, come into practice early, go into the weight room, put the work in. He's a veteran player, came from Notre Dame, and he is an outside shooter, which is desperately what we need. And I think he's going to be big time for us. Also, we have Harrison Ingram from Stanford, big time player, very good shooter, skilled, smooth player, also strong defensively, has a very strong body. So he's going to be able to guard multiple people. And also he's one of those players that, in today's game, if we need to go super small, we could slide him over to the 4, which sounds absurd because when I played, there's no way he's going to play the power forward and spread the floor. It's just the game has changed, and that's what it is. That's the way teams want to play now. But the reason why I like these two guys is because last year our shooting was so bad and our shot selection was just horrendous that everyone had the chance to collapse inside on Armando. Now, Armando had a good year, but I really think he had to really work for everything he got down low. And I think when you add shooters around him, what you're going to do is you're going to draw the defense out and you're going to make things easier for Armando. He's going to be able to get the ball inside much easier. He's going to be able to seal, and he'll be able to go right away a lot of times against single coverage. I feel like I'm breaking down football when I said that. But man on man in the post, doing work, get the ball, deep seal, right hand hook, just like a traditional UNC big you guys are used to seeing. It'll be beautiful. And also the pace of play this year. I've heard Coach Davis talk about he wants to run again. Thank God we couldn't play slower last year. So we're going to up the pace, which I absolutely Sleep Dawg. I love it. I love layups and dunks better than anybody else. I hate contested three-point jump shots more than anybody else. And I think if we get back to running, and with this new addition of Elliot Cadeau, who is just an amazing talent, possibly the freshman of the year, he has that type of talent. He has the talent to be one and done. I'm extremely impressed from watching Elliot Cadeau and what he can provide this team. First of all, he's a very good outside shooter, very confident player, and he has the ability to pass and make plays and get players open. And I like his confidence, has a little swagger too. Super young, so he's going to have – he will go through some up and downs, just like every other young kid. But I'm super excited about him. And the energy for this year is different than last year, because last year, going into the season, we were the top dog, and we didn't handle that well. Well, this is now, we're hungry, and I think we're changing some things up. We got some new players, and I like where the team is at right now. I want them to keep working and see how it comes together. You never really know, but I will say the energy is really good and the kids are working hard, and I'm excited for this season, Sleep. I think it's going to be a much better year for UNC basketball.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what you said, what you said to kind of open that little segment there is true, if not unpopular, which is that, there's something off last year when you're looking at the team, and I think, probably some people thought that coming from us, probably mainly coming from you, that's like kind of a slight. And that's not what it is. I mean, it's just like, look, man, sometimes things just don't gel. They just don't mesh, right? And it was clear to anybody that was watching last year that the team it was something that they had prior that they didn't have last year. And it's not a crime. It's not, it's a bummer, right, as a fan. But, it just happens that way sometimes. And for whatever reasons, things change. And so, it's nice to be able to refresh. Obviously, I think Carolina's probably going to come out somewhere in the top 25, probably toward the upper half of it, right? We're not going to be considered a favorite coming out of the gate. So they're going to be some blend of probably closer to reality than what we had last year. Although, how could you not have us last year being a top team coming into the season? I mean, with what we did the year prior and bringing everybody back except Brady Manick. I think Brady Manick had I think everybody learned last year just how important he was on that team. You said it a bunch, right? But all in all, it's like, hey, man, it's a great time to get these guys refreshed and reset. I mean, Amondo's coming back. I mean, that's just look, dude, that guy's a monster. And at this point, he's I'm trying to come up with some word that's more veteran than veteran, and you can't because, he's been around the block at this point. So
5th year. So
yeah, you know what I mean? So
you can't get more experience than that in college.
And very rarely do you get a 5th-year guy that's your best player, right? So, I think with him and, you mentioned Cadeau. I think everybody knows or everybody that follows closely knows he's a top recruit. But it's great to hear, there's some affirmation of all that excitement. So I can't wait to watch the team. You talk about trap games, though. I'll give you a little tidbit. Radford. Gotta watch old Radford, man. That's where my grandma went to school back in the day. And before that, my grandma went to Oak Hill. So I'm just saying, man, Radford, Radford,
we're not good
Radford
enough.
about to lose by 12,000. They're going to score 12 is what I meant to say.
Sleep, I will tell you this. We're going to be good. Most people have us projected in the top anywhere from, I would say, early 20s to probably like 15 or so.
I was going to say right around the 15 place, yeah.
And I tell you, this team's not good enough to overlook anybody. And Radford could – it's quite possible they could hand us an L. I've been in situations where – not many, to be honest with you, where, teams like Radford almost handed us an L. I mean, lost to George Mason in the tournament. That's a different situation, though. But, it's they can't overlook anybody. But the one thing I will say, which I really like, and this Cormac Ryan kid, every time I'm in the gym, he's in the gym. And you want guys on your team like that that's always looking to get better. And he's not just in the gym. Sometimes you'll misinterpret that. Nowadays, especially, some people just have a tendency to kind of wander and do different things, go to the gym, get on their phone. Now, he's putting in work. He's getting better, and I respect that. And Brady Manick was like that. You just talked about being a leader. Cormac Ryan's a veteran player too, and he's going to come in and help this team. And whether it's going to be instant or it's going to pay off, that work will pay off, and his attitude, what he's doing for the team, and I respect it, and I like it. So I'm looking forward to that, especially. The other thing is, since we are talking a little bit about basketball, Armando will probably be projected as a first team, second team, preseason All-American. Now, Kyle Filipowski is back at Duke, probably going to be projected first team, second team. He's going to be – I'm really looking forward to that matchup. And I watched Filipowski in the Dean Dome last year. He had an unbelievable game. And the numbers didn't even reflect – he had a heck of a game. The numbers didn't reflect his impact. And he's a veteran player. To me, Filipowski might be the most well-rounded, as far as somebody who could spread the floor, has a bunch of different skills. But Armando, particularly more inside banger, good rebounder. I want to see that matchup again. And that's one thing that I have on my radar for this season, that matchup, and I'm really looking forward to that. Everyone always looks forward to the Duke-North Carolina rivalry. I get that. But in particular, the battle within the battle of the bigs, that game. And Filipowski, he's going to be a big-time player as well. And I know we got a lot of Carolina listeners out there that are just chomping at the bit. Come on, don't say that. But it is going to be interesting to watch that and how that battle kind of plays out throughout the whole year.
Yeah, the battle played out shitty for us last year. I mean, he just had a great game. You're right. I mean, that was the second Duke. Believe it or not, I've been to 2 Duke Carolina games. The first one was you getting punched in the nose, and the second one was basically Filipowski punching us in the nose. But, yeah, fuck him regardless. But he is a good player. I think – do you think he'll be – he's probably got to be in the running for preseason player of the year, right? Filipowski?
I would say, I mean,
I don't know. I haven't done enough.
I do think he will be in consideration. Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of good bigs again in college. I mean, he'll be in the running. But to me, Zach Edey from Purdue,
right.
the big.
Yeah.
If Zach Edey was around 10 years ago, he would already been gone. He would have been like a top 3 pick. To me, he's better than Hasheem Thabit, who went number 2 in 2009, which Zach Edey, he developed more as a player in 1 year than almost anybody I've ever seen in college. That kid developed. I mean, he was as stiff as they came. I mean, he looked like Tin Man 2 years ago, and then last year, I mean, he was dominant. He was the most dominant player in college, and the game looks easy because of his size, and he really improved. I want to see the improvements that he makes this year, and he's going to be, to me, the leader for player of the year, just to be honest with you. The numbers he put up last year were just ridiculous.
Yeah, we're going to start digging in, seeing what's going on with some of these guys as we get a little closer to the season, which, like you said, what is this? I mean, it was like we're inside a month away. So I was kind of kidding about the Radford thing, but you're exactly right. It's I know. When early in the season, you got to get serious, and you got to get serious. Look, it's not lost on me that our second game is against Lehigh, and any real Carolina fan is somewhat of a Lehigh fan, given what they did to Duke in the tournament. I don't know how long, 10 years ago now.
Who played on that team?
Great memes in the early stage. Who did? I forget.
CJ McCollum, right?
I was going to say, let me guess, but I know it would take me 2 hours to figure out. I knew it was somebody big, and that's it's amazing, right? It's amazing to me how some of those teams have a guy. I mean, dude, look, CJ McCollum is an above average NBA player. I don't know if he's ever been an all-star, but he probably would if he weren't a shooting guard. And just the fact that he's in a position where there's a lot of glamour and a lot of just great players. But CJ McCollum is fucking good.
Yeah.
Right. And a guy like that going to Lehigh, I mean, he's better than a lot of guys that have ever come out of top programs. So it's just interesting to me when you look back and see, I mean, like John Morant going to Murray State or whatever it was. Wasn't that where he went?
Yeah.
Some of these guys get to these, and even guys like, I don't like Fred VanVleet that much, right? But
Dave Lillard.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are great players. Wichita State and Portland and all the, I mean, it's interesting to look back and see where some of these guys go. And to me, as a guy, I'm literally sitting here watching preseason NBA because the older I get, I don't know what it is about the NBA, but I just get sucked in, and I love this shit. And it's amazing that if you really go look at the blue blood programs, and Carolina included in that, we've got great players. But you take MJ and James Worthy out, you take out, I'm trying to think of some Duke guys, but even those guys, if you really look at the stars, the championship caliber, long-term, stars, very few of them come from a recognizable program. I mean, sure, look, Anthony Davis, Kentucky, you got, you can say Zion, okay, fine. You got, but LeBron, Giannis, I mean, Kevin Durant went to Texas. Even that's sort of obscure a little bit.
Steve
right?
Nash, Santa Clara, 2-time regular season MVP.
Yeah, dude, you look at all the guys like Jokic, and I get that there's some foreign element now, right, that didn't used to be there. But it's fascinating to me, right, that the great college programs perennially put out great NBA talent. But if you look at the generational stars in the NBA, I just think in general, rarely do they come from a program.
who would you say generational stars in the? Just give me like your list of 5.
Let me give you 5. All right. So Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Giannis, and say,
Jokic.
I would, or like Luka or Jokic. Yeah. And Jokic is a generational talent, but I almost mean like, I don't know, his skill, even me, dude. I mean, his skill is just so disrespected and diminished because he's not flashy. But yeah, absolutely. And even Steph, I just even naming him out loud, and Klay Thompson and some of these guys that are great. But yeah, I would consider those guys like your next up. I think the one guy that comes to mind immediately as a potential, the guy that still hasn't become a superstar that I think has that potential is Jason Tatum. And of course he went to, I hate to say it. And it's weird too for me how once they cross over the Rainbow Bridge into, you know what the Rainbow Bridge is?
Mm-mm.
You didn't laugh, so I figured you might not. That's what they say when dogs cross over when they die. So all dogs go to heaven. And it was a deeper joke, and they don't all land. And I can tell this one, the audience is probably like, all right, bro, it's time's up on the fucking whatever the hell he's talking about. Anyhow, when guys cross over, they go from Duke to the NBA. It's like they're a lot less unlikable most of the time. Like Grayson Allen's still an asshole. But most of those guys, you kind of like, all right, man, whatever. It's done and over with. But I think he's the one guy that really comes to mind for me that, and I think there's a few guys, there's someone I was thinking of the other day that went to Kentucky. Oh, it's Shy. Gregorius Alexander.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that guy's good.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's got the potential to be really good. He's got the potential to be MVP this year. Maybe that's changing. I don't know. Maybe it was a little different before. I mean, obviously, you got Jordan and Worthy and some of those guys, and even Grant Hill. I think people forget how good Grant Hill was, and guys like Stackhouse and Carter and probably a bunch of Kentucky guys that I'm not naming, Rasheed Wallace, and those guys were like all-stars, perennial like all-stars. It just seems now, and international peace has a lot to do with that, I think. But it just seems like now, man, it's like you come to these programs and you're the guy, and everybody thinks you're gonna be the guy. Zion is the perfect example to me. Everybody's just like anointed him as like, and granted, like, how do you look at Zion and not think that? I get it. But he hadn't been, period. Like, the only reason he's getting the chances he's getting is because of how freakishly athletic he is.
Yeah. And, the temperature on Zion with a lot of people, it's been up and down. Like he's had some good times, and obviously he hasn't handled himself. I mean, I think he could probably lose a little bit of weight, just to be honest. I mean, his body, he's so explosive and athletic. I'm not sure his joints and his bodies really can take that size. I mean, he's a big dude. But
they say he looks good this year, but they always say that.
You think you'd learn your lesson after, the years prior, being injured pretty much your whole time in the NBA. Mm-hmm. He's got kind of that Charles Barkley body, but Charles Barkley wasn't explosive like Zion. And he couldn't really, move. And so I think that kind of, saved him. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is a good point that you bring that up, talking about generational players, not coming from the blue bloods per se. But it made me think, and I'm like, man, that is crazy, because you bring up a great point. And it makes me think that maybe the game has evolved and is more worldwide than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And, you look back, in the 80s, in the 90s, you might not have had many, European players coming over and having the impact that they are now, because the game has really evolved. And I will say, I think the game has taken a step back in the U.S. And I think the reason I say that is because there's so much attention paid to scoring that a lot of the European players, they're much better passers. You can look at Jokic, unbelievable passer. You can look at Luka, really good passer, really good distributor, has great talent, great skills. And maybe they're more skilled because they're putting more of an emphasis on the team play versus here, where you look at the AAU ball and where these kids aren't really developing the skill at an early age. All they're doing is playing pickup games. And I'm not really sure if that's hurt the game or helped the game, but it is definitely more worldwide. And you're right. You know, the thought of, you know, traditionally you would think like a blue blood or, you know, this is where the generational talent comes, but it's not actually true.
Like, just imagine if a guy like Jokic or Luka Doncic played at Carolina, right? Like, I mean, I think that's what, you're right. I think in the NBA, what I mean by that is like, there's a buy-in to team basketball in the international game. And I think the reality of it is there's less of a buy-in in America at early stages, probably even if you look more broadly in college, because of the money, right? Like, you can make a lot of money in America playing basketball, right, from an early age. And there is a huge amount of, I mean, basketball in America is basketball and football, and they're decidedly different, right? Like, sure, there's some crossover there, but most of the time, if you're 6'8", you're going to play basketball. If you're 6'3" and 225 pounds, you're probably going to play football, right? But I would imagine that in Europe and some of these other countries where it's more like, hey, you're either going to play, first and foremost, you're probably going to play soccer. And second of all, like, hockey is kind of a big thing, and probably some other stuff, you know? And my point is that I think that there is a larger pool of younger people specifically focused on dwindling amount of spots in the American sort of farm system of basketball, youth all the way up. As such, right, you have to stand out. And how do you stand out? Well, you got to score.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my very novice opinion of maybe why you see things kind of going the way that they're going, where, the game is evolving and the game's a lot more flashy and the game is a lot more pop culture and that stuff sort of bleeding in. But you see that bleed in a lot in America, and you see these guys come in from other countries. Even Giannis. These guys are just blue collar, man. I mean, they come in and, you know, you can tell that they're, you know, this is like out of necessity for them, I think, more than some of these kids coming up in the U.S. I don't know. It's just fascinating, man. I think that there's, like, basketball is a really interesting conversation, you know, from college all the way up through the NBA. And like, there are so many storylines in the NBA now. I think the fun part about the NBA is so much parity. Like, with the NBA, with the globalization, like, there's a lot of good teams. Anybody, I mean, you ask who's going to win the championship this year, dude, you get 10 answers and justify every single one of them. And I mean, unless you just like watching the same team win over and over again, I mean, even the bad teams, even teams that probably are not going to make the playoffs are very fun to watch. I watched the Spurs. I'm going off and rambling here, but I'm glad I rambled myself into something that I meant to say to Wayne Ellington out there somewhere. Dude, I watched Wembanyama play the other night, and I was like, dude, this guy's going to make me look like a clown. I don't know if you watched that game.
Dude, I watched him play. It's crazy.
Holy shit, man. I sat here and I was like, dude, he's going to be a bust. And again, to you know, my own defense, it wasn't like he's going to bust as that he's not going to be any good. It was just like the hype is too much for him to ever realistically to bank on living up to it. Kind of like the way LeBron did. I watched that game the other night, and I almost sent Wayne a DM on Instagram and just was like, yo, bro, I'm sorry. Like, you're just absolutely right here. I mean, one game, I get it. Preseason, I get it. But, dude, that guy is a different story. Someday somebody's going to dig that up and be like, man, roast this dude for this take. But, yeah, I don't know, man. He's good. And the Spurs aren't going to be very good. They're just not going to be good. And if they're on TV, they're going to be fun to watch. Oklahoma City, probably going to be in the here's my bet. I bet Oklahoma City probably finishes in the top 6 in the conference, makes the playoffs. Now they can't get anybody hurt because they don't have a ton of depth, but they got some great players on their team.
Their organization's very well ran, and they have a great GM. They do very well with their picks, and I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. And I watched Wembanyama play the other day. If you guys haven't seen this kid play, man, you've got to watch him.
Turn the TV on.
Yeah, he's unlike – I don't think there's been a player like him ever in the NBA with his style and his size and his length. Not with this talent and the way he moves. It is pretty fast, it's crazy to watch, and he's going to be a heck of a player. I do worry about the Spurs having to play him at the center position and having, him guard guys like Embiid, Giannis, and really taking a beat down his first year. That first year can be tough because you're playing against, guys that have strength, size, and athleticism, and your body could take a toll. I would like to see the Spurs get a big that can a defender, and that would take a lot of pressure off Wembanyama from having to guard, the centers because he doesn't have the strength of he's not built. He's a skinny, long, athletic player. Even though he is like 7'4", he doesn't have the muscle or the strength to really bang and withstand all those blows. And it can take a toll on your body, and it's not worth it if you're, the Spurs organization. You need him here in 2-3 years to build a championship team around.
I just went to Google. This is how big this guy is in pop culture right now. I just went to Google to see how much he weighs. I typed in VICT, and Google says Victoria's Secret, Victoria Beckham, Victoria Wembanyama. I mean, dude, that's pretty tall company there. 7'4". Oh, now Google's talking to me. I'm trying to figure out how much he weighs because I thought it was very slight. Dude, 210. Bro.
Yeah, dude, that's teensy.
There's a time in my life where I think I was probably close to 210, and I'm 5'10". I mean, 7'4", 210. What do you think Yao weighed?
Yao was a massive dude. I mean, I would not be surprised if Yao weighed 330. Yao's much different than his legs were tree trunks. And even though the weight on Yao may be 280, 290, I would still say that's not accurate. I would say, do we ever really think Shaq was under 300 pounds?
Mm-mm.
No chance. No chance. Guys, I'm 260 right now. I don't,
You don't look too. I mean, you don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, so 210, dude, and this kid's almost a foot. What is he? 6-8 inches taller than you. And that's the thing. And probably the most impressive thing I saw him do, the thing that really just made me what I was mesmerized by, was on one play. They just toss him the ball from the made basket, and they give him the ball. He dribbles it up the court like a point guard.
Yeah. And
his body, the way he just dribbles the ball up the court for a regular possession, I was struck by how it did not look in the least bit awkward. Yeah. I mean, here's a guy 7'4", just dribbling the ball up the court like every other dude you've ever seen dribble the ball. So, I mean, he's going to be fun to watch. We were supposed to cover some football games, and we wound up getting off on this dude. But anyway,
I'll just say right now, since you brought up football, I really hope Christian McCaffrey is not injured too bad. I know he took that.
Oh my God!
And that kicker for the 49ers needs to be fired. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
Came in. Got to make that kick, buddy. You got to make that kick, okay? Got to make the kick. But my fantasy league looms on the outcome of Christian McCaffrey and how bad this oblique injury is. God bless him. I hope he's good. And did you see what's his face? Who's the old tight end for the Panthers? Greg Olsen. Did you see that hug he gave McCaffrey before the game?
I did not.
Guys, if anybody else saw that hug, that was just a little too much sauce for me. I mean, I thought he was going to cry, and Christian was like, "Hey man, good seeing you," and hugged him real quick. But Greg, he hung on there a little bit too long. I'll send it to you after this sleep. So I want you to break it down.
My damn today's game put a dent in my Brock Purdy rookie card. I got a feeling that thing might have a little. I mean, it was at one point I turned it on in the second half. I think it was in the fourth quarter. He had 1 yard passing in the second half. I also picked him on Prize Picks to go over 207, and my man never had a chance at 207. I don't know if he drove 207 yards to the game, much less down the field. It was brutal. So, anyway, I don't give a shit about 49ers other than, fantasy. I got McCaffrey, too. He went down. I got Trevor Lawrence. He went down. So
there's a lot of injuries today, guys.
Dude, I woke up. I was like, oh, man, I'm crushing it. Next thing I know, I don't know if I'm going to hang on or not. Did Saquon Barkley start?
I hope not. I got his backup in.
Well, I got him in. So, and I got his backup on the bench. Hang on one
His
second.
backup's been just horrendous.
Oh yeah, I mean the Giants. There's a real. They're up 3-0 right now in the first quarter on the.
Man,
oh, he's playing. Oh, look at Saquon. Here's oh man, he is just going off right now. 10 carries, 14 yards.
Oh God.
1.4 yards a carry for those of you counting at home. He does have a catch for 2. The Giants are atrocious, man.
Awful.
God, they're awful. Lord of mercy.
They paid everybody and they just suck.
Damn, Daniel Jones, man, that guy. They need to put him in jail for grand theft. They gave him like 80. They gave him a lot of money.
It's called a holdup.
Good Lord. Washington won. Sam Howell threw 3 touchdowns. Looked great. They beat Atlanta. Also, Prize Picks need their field goal kicker to make 2 field goals, and Arthur, who's a head coach over there, also a Tar Heel, just kept going for it. And I was just like, "Bud, can you just put one through the uprights for me here, so I can cash in that 40%?" So that one didn't hit either. Jets beat the Eagles, first time in history. I mean, like, how can that still be happening? Jets been around.
I didn't realize that.
I know they don't play every year, but damn, shit. Also, one of the biggest upsets in a long time. I mean, they were plus 9.5. Dog took it down. The Browns without Deshaun Watson. I had some dude I couldn't. If you paid me, I was getting ready to tell you. If you give me $100,000 and tell you that guy's name was, I couldn't tell you right now. They beat the 49ers. So, there's going to be some upheaval in
Sleep, do you believe in the Browns?
No. Dude, come on.
The best defense in football, maybe.
They are good. I mean, listen, the defense is good. It's the Browns, bro.
Do you think Deshaun Watson, do you think he'll come back this year and be like a decent player?
Yeah, what happened to him? I haven't been paying attention.
He got
Did
paid.
He get hurt bad?
He got paid.
Oh, yeah, he got paid a lot.
He got paid, and he's just been
That's
average
right.
at
Kind
best.
of bad. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, look, man, if I was making $234 million guaranteed, I'm just saying, man, I don't know if you get my best effort day in and day out. But I'll be honest, man, a couple of days I'm like, man, I got a lot of money. And, I'm pretty okay with sleeping in. But yeah, I don't know, man. The other funny thing I want to say about basketball is I was watching preseason. I'm watching the Lakers are playing Milwaukee. First taste of little Dame and Giannis. It's funny how they put these marquee matchups together in preseason. But the other day I'm watching and LeBron plays in the first half. And a lot of these guys, right? Like, I mean, look, you don't expect him to play in the second half. But not only does he not play in the second half, but he shows up on the end of the bench in the second half, dressed in a sweatsuit, like he done got in, got a shower, changed his clothes, and is sitting on the end of the bench eating food.
That's absolutely what happened.
He don't give a shit about anything, which is, I mean, dude, he's been in the league 21 years. And they were also in that game talking about how he had all the other guys that had played in their 20th season or later. And like the most any of them had ever averaged in a season was like 7 points a game. LeBron averaged 29. I mean, he's still like top 10 player in the league. And this dude is he's spray painting gray hairs off his beard right now is what he's doing.
It's about to be 39, right? 38 going on 39?
Yeah, because I'll be 40 and he's born 3 days after me. So he's a year younger than me, basically. He'll be 39. If I tried to run a fast break right now, my lungs would collapse. this dude, could very well win an NBA championship.
Very interesting, isn't it?
A little taller than me. But anyway. All right, man. Well, the Heels are looking good. Basketball's around the corner. We're getting right back into it. We got Virginia coming up. Just hope hope we can stay focused, man. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.